I keep trying when I know there's something to live for. I keep fighting, but I know I'm losing the battle. And it's hard to see the sun. I keep trying when I know there's something to live for. You're not turning on like what? I keep fighting, but I know I'm losing the battle. I keep trying when I know there's something to live for.
And what do you sacrifice?
Calm. Kindness, kinship. Love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight, they set me on a path from which there's no escape. I yearn to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I look down, there's no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burn my decency for someone else's future. I burn my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. Now, the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything!
全蘇兵に次ぐこたびの栄えある海戦の一陣、我ら祖軍が受けたまった。
なんだこのバカでけえ声は。
隣の戦場だぞ。この戦で秦は滅ぶ。この戦は深く歴史に刻まれること間違いない。この大戦の口火を切る誉れ高き者は林北貴様だ。おう、
先方は。
よっしゃよっしゃ。我が名はその豪将林北。
林武君、そこか。同金の敵は。
我こそこの壮大な戦の幕を開ける者である。死を揺るがすのは誰か。天を震わすのは誰か。沈め戦軍。戦軍突撃や。将軍に続け。
さすが公将軍、そうこなくったよ。俺たちも続くぞ。突撃だ戦隊。この大戦の口火を切るのは俺たちだ。
Yo, what's up? What's up? This your guy, Rihama, 1 versus a million. I'm not your fan, I'm not your stand for, I am brother. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe, hype the stream, and hit the follow over here on the Rumble side. All right, I'm back with you, brothers. Just like, as promised, because our stream on the YouTube side was interrupted. So, just as I told Gigi, Elder BGS, that I was going to share one of his videos. So yes, I'm sticking to that. So peace and blessings to you guys. Thank you guys for coming through. For us covering BGS's one of his videos of the Moynihan report. So I'll be I'll be covering that. And I'll be doing that periodically because there's a whole bunch of other stuff too as well that I have to get to. All right. So, yeah. And speaking of which, for in regards to the Hama Force, yes, we shall be, because it has been released today. The new episodes of your boy Baki. Yes, of the of the legendary samurai arc, Miyamoto Musashi. And yeah, so if you ain't caught up, like when it comes to the manga, you know, because the issues for that, for those panels, yeah, that for those manga panels, they came out like over a year ago. Yeah, over a year ago, almost 2 years ago now. When I think about it, but yeah. So, and also too, I have another brother, that I would like to share. A good brother, Xanatos Clutch. I got one of his videos too that I'll be sharing, and yeah, some other stuff too as well that I'll be sharing with you guys. Some videos I found from IG. So yeah, and whatever I play over here that YouTube don't like, don't worry, it will be uploaded up on the Rumble side. So you can. There's another good reason to subscribe and follow the Rumble, so you can check all that good stuff out. All right, and yeah, we will be talking to, and also related to the Geekverse. We will be also talking about the gaming, some some gaming news, some new gaming news that came out. So yeah, so we'll be getting up on all that. So, and part of my little celebration of Black History Month, I will be sharing something. So yeah, all right. So thank you guys for coming through. Without further ado, let's get to the main part. Because of that interruption from last time, we'll get to the main. Here we go.
From the Children's Defense Fund that the rate of birth to black teens is twice that for whites. Women had 50% of all black families with children under 18 compared to 15% for white children. Only 41% of black children are living with both parents compared to 80% of white children and 70% of Hispanic children. So while it is true that white families are in trouble, that blacks are not the only ones who have children out of wedlock, the reality says that it's pronounced, it's exaggerated, it's concentrated in many respects among black families. Are you willing to admit that?
I'm not only willing to admit it, I think we've got to sound the alarm about it. And I think increasingly that alarm is being sounded from within the black community, and that is the important change. I think that has occurred. There is no question that this is a phenomenon that stretches across the face of the United States, and I couldn't agree with Jesse more, that we have to deal with it in its national context. At the same time, I think it is clear that it has reached crisis proportions in our community. When half of all the children are being born to single women who are disproportionately poor, we see the face of the next generation of black people. And if we keep this up, if we don't find a way to intervene, and it is so complex that intervention has got to take place on a number of levels, but if we do not find a way to intervene, we are going to see progressively greater disadvantage with each generation of black people, which is the antithesis of the American imperative.
I know you're out there. I can feel you now. I know that you're afraid. You're afraid of us. You're afraid of change. I don't know the future. I didn't come here to tell you how this is going to end. I came to tell you how it's going to begin. I'm going to hang up this phone, and then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see. A world where anything is possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to you.
Wake up. Shut up.
All right, this is from the New York Times, November 20th, 1983, The Breakup of the Black Family, Imperial's Gains of Decades. And this is an extension of the results of the Moynihan report. So this will be the Moynihan report some almost 20 years later. And it reads as, today, 18 years later, virtually half of black families are headed by single women, and 55% of black babies are born to unmarried mothers. Gun-shy from the Moynihan experience, authorities for years were reluctant to speak out about the problem. But now politicians and scholars, black and white, liberal and conservative, openly agree that the situation has reached such proportions that it has threatened to undo black economic gains of the past 3 decades. The growing alarm among blacks. The breakdown of the traditional family structure is, they say, one of the underlying causes of black poverty, not only because there is no man to provide family income, but also because women on the average earn much less than men. Moreover, many black spokesmen are saying for the first time that this is one of the most serious problems facing their communities, and that it may mean that larger proportions of coming generations of blacks will grow up to be disadvantaged. This is 83. Okay. Even they didn't know what was going to happen. Eleanor Holmes Norton, a law professor at Georgetown University who was chairman of the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in the Carter administration, termed the family crisis a threat to the future of black people without equal. The problem must be resolved, the experts say, because otherwise society at large will have to pay the price, either in compensatory measures to prop up the fractured lives or in strife and social conflict as the gap widens between the privileged and the excluded. Ain't that the truth? An unmistakable correlation. It is an open question, which is more important, the breakdown in family structure causes poverty, or that poverty is a cause of the breakdown. But the correlation between the two is unmistakable, and it is prompting a serious debate over the causes of the problem and a search for solutions. A study last summer by the Center for the Study of Social Policy, a nonpartisan research group, showed that in all races, families headed by women were twice as likely as two-parent families to be poor. Half of all families headed by black women have incomes below the poverty line, the study showed. The study noted that in 1981, the average income of black families with 2 working parents was 84% of the average for white families, where both parents worked, an increase from 73% 13 years earlier. In contrast, a primary reason that the average income for all black families with children was just 56% of the average for whites, the study concluded, was that 47% of families were headed by women, 70% now, as against 14% of white ones. Losses exceed gains. Moynihan said that. If we don't do something now, it's going to get worse. And what he said was the plight of the black family may be outside the control of the government to correct. And he was actually right. Since black female-headed households are the most rapidly increasing proportions of all black families, the fact that they have not gained economic ground has more than offset the increases made by the other types of black families, the report said. The principal author of the report was the director of the center, Tom Joe, who was a welfare official in the Nixon administration. Wow, that's going all the way back. In one sense, according to some experts, single black mothers may represent a vanguard. These experts suggest that more
and more white women will become single parents as they build a longer tradition of working and financial independence. Boy, this is like, they were like predicting the future. But the far-reaching effects on the black community might be mitigated among whites, partly because white women tend to get divorced less often than blacks and tend to marry more often. I always say black women are the least married and the most divorced. And they said it right there. It's right there. You know, it's in stats, but they just read it. They just put it out there. This is 1983. The problems of single mothers, black and white, are compounded by the fact that working women, on average, earn less than men. According to the Census Bureau, the median earnings of working black women last year was actually slightly higher than those of working white women, $7,802 versus $7,640. But the average working man earned about twice as much, $15,373. That's not true anymore. White women make a lot more than they did back then. With the next generation, Ms. Norton said, we could see a proportionally greater numbers of disadvantaged people than in this generation because of the proportion of children who get their start in life as children of single girls and women. Experts voiced disagreement. While politicians and social scientists agree that the dissolution of the black family structure has been a main cause of poverty among blacks, they disagree sharply over why such disintegration has occurred and over the possible remedies. One camp, which includes many members of the Reagan administration, argues that the nation's welfare system has encouraged families to split up, see, it wasn't us, and has led to the state of welfare dependency for generation after generation of blacks. He's not too far away from that, okay, as far as being right. They would reduce government social programs, require able individuals on welfare to work, and place more emphasis on apprehending fathers and forcing them to pay child support. Oh my goodness. I lived through this transition, man, where they started going after the so-called deadbeat dead. This is the beginning of the deadbeat dead. And this is 83 is actually when Nixon kind of took us out of austerity measures. Another camp comprising many liberals and most, but not all, black scholars believes that the causes are much more complex, but center on the history of discrimination against blacks in this country and the inability of black men to find work to support their families. Did not Moynihan say that in 1965? Did he not say that? The whole piece was about that line was what the Moynihan was about back in 1965, right? And this is damn near 20 years later, they're still saying the same thing. They say the situation would be much worse if it were not for the government welfare programs, and they would expand both these programs and various social services designed to counsel black families, discourage teenage pregnancies, and help single women with children to make it on their own. Bill Clinton tried to do that in 1996. Here are the arguments advanced by experts in both camps. Welfare. For many years, the nation's primary welfare program, Aid to Families with Dependent Children, AFDC, denied benefits to families if an adult male was in the house. Did we not just say that? We had arguments for like 4 hours over this shit. This is 1983. They're saying that. That's the freaking man in the house rule. Black women had to choose checks over fathers. If they wanted the check, they had to put the father out of the house. That bar was stricken in 1968, and states were permitted but not required to cover two-parent families in which a would-be breadwinner was unemployed or underemployed. Some people believe that the man-in-the-house rule has contributed to family breakup by forcing fathers to leave the home. Others disagree. Mr. Joe, for example, noted that New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and 18 other states, which together account for 70% of the nation's families on welfare, offer aid that covers unemployed fathers in the home. Yet only about 300,000 such families are covered out of a national welfare caseload of 3.6 million, where we cover unemployed fathers. Bullshit. War on poverty is blamed. The conservative economist George Gilder asserts that conservatives were right in their predictions that the income redistribution programs of President Johnson's war on poverty would result in destroying the incentives and families of the poor. In an attack this fall on what he termed the welfare state disaster, Mr. Gilder wrote, current programs will continue to create a criminal underclass of unlisted male welfare beneficiaries who exploit the welfare trap by living off a series of female recipients. Hobosexuals, okay? This is when the hobosexuals were born, and extended by violence ever deeper into the heart of our cities and our national consciousness. Mr. Joe, whose organization has been conducting a detailed study of the Reagan administration's 1981 cuts in welfare programs, said a dual system of family law, one for the rich, the other for the poor, was evolving. He cited as an example a new welfare regulation requiring, he said, that if a stepfather enters the home, he's liable for not only the support of the mother, but also of all the kids. Stepdaddy season. He said this meant that a working man who wished to marry a woman on welfare would face the prospect of assuming responsibility for the support of children that were not his. That's like a lot of your millennials said, I'm not playing cleanup man. Many states, New York among them, have had difficulty even defining what a stepfather is, Mr. Joe added. Poverty culture disputed. So-called overture poverty theories have long held that dependence on welfare can become so entrenched that it creates its own subculture with values that encourage remaining in poverty and attitudes that discourage self-reliance. I just did a video a few months ago called the welfare cliff. So what they're saying is actually absolutely accurate. Okay, it's not a theory. This is not an if or an instance or a wish, or they're bullshitting, because this article is in 1983. Okay, this is 2022. That welfare cliff still exists. So what they're saying is 100% correct. A pioneering study by the University of Michigan's Institute for Social Research, one of the few research projects that followed welfare recipients for many years, disputes such theories. Yeah, they can dispute it, but guess what? It's still with us. In a report released last month, the Institute said that at least among blacks, long-term welfare dependency as a child does not necessarily lead to long-term welfare dependency as an adult. That is true. Some kids do get off of it, but most don't. The Michigan study team, headed by Dr. Martha S. Hill, also found that while children from poor households are more likely to be poor as young adults, nevertheless, more likely, parental attitudes and values, with few exceptions, do not make any difference in the economic well-being of children after they leave home. One reason more black children than white children live in single-parent families is a higher degree of teen-age pregnancies among blacks. Among all unmarried women 50 to 19 years old in 1979, blacks were 50% more likely than whites to have had sexual intercourse, according to a survey published by the Alan Guttmacher Institute and the National Institutes of Health. Guttmacher is actually a pretty good site when they can keep their data up, because if it's something negative, they will snatch that stuff off in a heartbeat. More than 1 in 4 blacks was born to a teenage mother in 1979. 25%. According to figures compiled by the Children's Defense Fund, a child advocacy group based in Washington, D.C., the comparable figures for whites was 1 in 7. Interesting. The group found that the birth rate declined among single black teenagers in the 1970s, but it dropped even faster among older and married black women. Studies show that these groups are more likely to use contraception or have abortions than unmarried black teenagers. Yet black women do use abortion as birth control. Thus, the proportion of young single mothers among blacks rose. That's how come they changed the law to actually allow teenagers to have abortions. In addition, sexual activity among blacks in this age group appeared not to be increasing, while such activity among white teenagers was growing rapidly, the Guttmacher study found. Conservatives cite welfare. Some authorities think that the government encourages teenage pregnancy by providing a haven for young mothers and by creating a dependency in people who otherwise would have to find some other way to survive on their own. If you look at the data, said Robert B. Carlson, President Reagan's advisor for social policy development, as the welfare system has gotten more expansive, there is a correlation between the growth of programs and explosions of families in the teenage age group. Action reaction. He said the failure to form families in the first place was regarded by the administration as an even greater problem than family breakup. In other words, in the 60s, the families broke up. The marriages would happen, but the families in divorce would actually break up, and the man would have to leave the house. As it progressed, the second and third generation on welfare, the families never formed in the first place. So that's one reason why the marriage rate actually dropped. The women didn't need the men. This is probably the toughest welfare problem there is, Mr. Carlson said, because the welfare system provides money, free medical care, food stamps, and other things a woman who has a child if she's single. The question is, does that encourage or induce or in any other way cause the problem of teenage pregnancy? In other words, if you just can get all that stuff by having a kid and you can't get it any other way, just like a man going out and selling dope, it's easy for a woman to have a baby, especially if you're poor. Marion Wright Edelman, president of the Children's Defense Fund, blamed the relaxed sexual mores that have evolved in American society in the last 20 years or so, particularly the sexually charged messages of the contemporary entertainment, motion pictures, television, and popular music. The message they convey to children is anything goes, she asserted. Some scholars assert that the poor economic prospects of black teenagers may have wrought a fundamental change in mores in the black community. Say that again for the people in the back. Dr. Harriet Pipes McAdoo, I like that name, sociologist at Howard University who has specialized in the study of disadvantaged women and children, said, the tradition used to be that if a woman got pregnant, they were expected to get married, shotgun marriages, if not forced to get married, to supply income and a name for the child. But if the man has no job, there's no impetus for them to get married. Say it again for the people in the back. Her parents would have 3 people to support instead of just 2. The boy would become an additional burden on the family. Parents feel, why should I force her to marry him? He'll be a drain. Whites more often marry. A study by the National Center for Health Statistics, the only available research on the subject, found that in 1972, 49.5% of white women who conceived out of wedlock married before their babies were born. For black women, the figure was 11.7%. Oh, the figures were not broken down by age. Damn. Sometimes I just want to stop reading and pull the covers over my head. The Children's Defense Fund also cites limited research based on reports from 8 states in 1979, showing that among all pregnant teenagers, 41% of whites had abortions, while only 26% of blacks did. But among pregnant, older, and married women, blacks were almost twice as likely to have an abortion as whites, the research showed. Yeah, because little black teenagers couldn't afford abortions. They make them much cheaper. A number of policy analysts believe that the underlying cause of the increase in black families headed by women is the sharp increase in the joblessness of black men. Moynihan report said that. The name of the game is not marriage. The name of the game is income, said Mr. Joe, author of the recent study that addressed black poverty. That has proven not to be true. Even as the job market for black men stabilized, welfare continued to go up. I don't know if that's because the culture of unemployment amongst black men, but the thing is, whatever it is, black men's employment has little to no effect on welfare in the black community. Has almost had little to no effect on the marriage rates. In fact, what really has been the effect on marriage rates and out of wedlock births is not the black male unemployment. It's actually the more money women actually get is a factor. And plus the changing mores in sexuality, plus also feminism. It's more than just that. Anyway, let's continue. And the joblessness is reflected not simply in the unemployment recorded in monthly government figures, which is nevertheless higher for blacks than for other major ethnic groups. It also includes the growing numbers of discouraged workers who have given up looking for jobs, and the black men in America's cities and rural areas who lacking jobs and permanent addresses are not counted by census takers. Among black teenagers, the unofficial unemployment rate hovers around 50%. But according to Sar A. Levitan, an employment analyst, only 1/6 of them have jobs because so many have dropped out of or never joined the labor force. Women as breadwinners. From 1960 to 1982, families headed by black women as a percentage of all black households with children rose to 47% from 21%. Remember, Moynihan actually said it was like 23%. Over the same span, the percentage of employed black men plunged to 55% from 74%. Some studies suggest if black men who cannot be enumerated by census takers were added to the total, the result would show that fewer than half of all adult black men in the country have jobs. That's pretty extreme, but who knows? Even those black men who do work earn significantly less than white men, an average of $10,510 last year against $15,964 for white men. That's like, what, 2/3? I think the gap is narrowed, but that hasn't done anything for the out-of-wedlock birth rates or even black marriage. Conservative theorists, including many in the Reagan administration, argue that the main cause of high joblessness is not discrimination, but rather absence among many blacks of basic working skills. Moynihan said the same shit, man, 20 years earlier. Jesus Christ. Administration officials say blacks should emulate the experience of those aliens in this country illegally who started in the lowest level jobs and worked their way up through the system. That's the bootstraps. But many who have had studied the problems of the black family say historic and continuing discrimination against black men robs many of the ability to function as the family breadwinner. The present black family crisis, characterized chiefly by the precipitous growth of poor female-headed households, can be traced almost directly to American racism, said a report by 30 black scholars who met in Tarrytown, New York earlier this year. The group ranked the issue of the black family equally with the economy and education as the critical concerns of the black community. In other words, the problem never got fixed. Moynihan said the problem would continue for at least another generation if it didn't get fixed. In fact, he didn't know it would be 3. He used to say, "You're going here, there, and everywhere, and I'm going nowhere," Miriam, an executive secretary, said of her former husband. "He just didn't have any drive. I was moving ahead and he was moving backwards. After a while, he couldn't take being bested by a woman. He started to hate me, but most of all, he hated himself." Some psychiatrists regard such a reaction as a classic response to a sense of futility that grows within many black men and boys when they believe the cards are stacked against them. Dr. James Cormer, the Maurice Falk Professor of Child Psychiatry at Yale University's Child Studies Center in New Haven, said many black men came to feel that instead of trying against high odds and failing, it was better not to try. It's still with us. This is pretty long. I'm going to read it all. The hell with it. In a society, the male is supposed to be the breadwinner, he said. Did not. Moynihan said almost the same thing. Something that's still deep in our psychology. It's a tremendous psychological burden when you don't have a snowball's chance in hell of taking care of your family. One of the defenses is not to care, to not do, not try. Sounds like Yoda. Dr. Cormer said the American system, to justify itself, had to rationalize its abuses of blacks. Therefore, he said, it has to not only deny the black male, but also to destroy him, put him down, make him look stupid, inadequate, and weak. Moreover, he maintained, men who see no opportunities for making it in the job market and of establishing themselves and seeing themselves as inadequate often seek adequacy in adulthood as male by producing a baby. Sometimes. Females also often seek to prove that they are someone of worth and value by producing a child. That is very true. They actually did studies with that. That's called Promises I Can Keep in Philadelphia. Mr. Carlson, President Reagan's assistant, said the administration was concerned with avoiding writing off persistently jobless black men as the hardcore unemployed. But the fact of the matter is that they're not going to be able to get any jobs that are there because of these basic skills they lack. He said, adding that the fact so many illegal aliens are coming in, thank you, Ronald Reagan, and on the bottom rung and going up the ladder, that's evidence that you've got to have those basic skills. In fact, those Hispanics learn those basic skills where they come from. They bring those skills with them. If you're ever down there, you notice that they bring those skills with them. Black women have been in the workforce in large numbers for much longer than white women. After World War II, millions of blacks left the southern farms. After World War II, millions of blacks left southern farms, Great Migration. The women often recruited to work as maids for northern whites. The men worked in factories. Mechanization began to eliminate sharecropping, the economic system that replaced slavery in the South. You know what? This article is just saying all the stuff I've been saying over the last 8 years. The consequences were widespread. Black families and communities that had functioned as economic and social units for decades on the farm were cut adrift and scattered. And extended family structures survived from African traditions, and its intended values will largely succumb to the impersonal isolation of the cities, getting out of the home, even among the middle class, for which white women has customarily meant staying home to care for family. For the family, black women's income has usually been needed to keep the family at middle income level. As a result, black women, earlier than other women, have made the next step of having and supporting children independently. Over the past 20 years, white women's participation in the labor force has been catching up and has now passed that of black women. In fact, they took the jobs from black men and gave them to white women. It's another point they don't point out. In 1960, 43% of black women were employed against 30% of whites. In 1970, it was 44% of black women against 40% of whites. And last year, the proportion of black women leveled off at 44.8%, while the figure for white women jumped to 48.4%. That's where the jobs went, folks. The jobs went to white women. And the jobs that went to white women were taken from whom? As white women have entered the labor force, the percentage of female-headed households among whites, while much smaller than blacks, has risen, and at a rate almost as rapid. Not only was Moynihan right, he was also right about white women. Among white families, 2.8% were headed by women in 1950, 6% in 1960, 13% in 1982, compared with 8.3%, 20%, and 47% for blacks in those years. Less of a social stigma has been attached to a woman as a single parent in the black community than in the white one. Miss Edelman actually wrote the book, Promises That I Can Keep. Mrs. Edelman of the Children's Defense Fund said, it's more acceptable to have a baby than to have an abortion, in part because of strong religious views amongst many blacks. That's not the case anymore. Now there are signs that the stigma is declining in the white community, as more middle-class white women choose to openly have babies without husbands. Also, the white divorce rate has risen in step with women's financial independence. I wonder where that comes from. Can we say white man's MRA? With the result that more white women, too, are single parents as the result of divorce, but white women more often remarry than black women do. And the percentage of divorced black women is double that of whites. You can't make this shit up. A publication released in August by the Rand Corporation, the California research company, noted that in 1982, fully 21% of all families with children were one-parent families. Rand cited research showing that demographers estimate that 46% of children born in the late 1970s will spend some part of their youth in one-parent families. Controversy is growing about potential remedies to the breakdown in the traditional black family structure. Some analysts, primarily but not exclusively political conservatives, argue that governmental programs have undermined the nuclear family structure. They say poor people, generally and blacks in particular, would be better off without such intervention. Mr. Gillard, the conservative economist, maintains, for example, illegitimacy means that sons will be brought up in homes where money is seen as always inadequate entitlement to women from the state. Many of these youths express no comprehension of the requirements of a job. Most have hardly ever met a working man who supports his children. They will find their manhood not by emulating adults, but by fierce street rivalries with their peers. But, he continues, any girl offered an irresistible solution by the U.S. government, it presents her at age 16 a chance for independence in an apartment of her own, free housing, medicine, legal assistance, and a combination of payments and food stamps worth several $100s a month. There's only one crucial condition. She must bear an illegitimate child. Can't make this shit up, folks. Anyway, we're almost done. Others, including civil rights groups and most political liberals, argue that without such existing income, educational and social supports, flawed though they are, the situation would be much worse, and that such assistance must be strengthened rather than abandoned. Workfare plan debated. The Reagan administration is promoting a community work experience program, or Workfare, as federally financed program to put unemployed to work for local public agencies in return for their income payments. Mr. Carlson, the presidential aide, said low-skilled jobs in parks departments, for example, would equip the jobless with the work habits they need to make them employable by private industry. Others argue that black workers have once again been disproportionately displaced by major structural changes in the employment market, similar to the demise of the Southern agricultural economy, and that it is inequitable to advance the solution that they start again on the bottom rung. In other words, they're mimicking what happened in the 60s and the 80s. John Jacob, the president of the National Urban League, observed that important sources of jobs for blacks were lost in the decline of the automobile, steel, and rubber industries, and said that these will require a national industrial policy to develop a workforce that won't be outpaced by the high rate of technological development. Requires a strategy in which we are continually retraining our workforce for the new jobs constantly coming on stream. The Terrytown Group, which included Dr. Kenneth B. Clark, shout out to Dr. Clark, that was Moynihan's main man, the sociologist, Dr. Bernard Anderson, director of social services for the Rockefeller Foundation, Patricia Roberts Harris, former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and of Health and Human Services, that's welfare, said governmental assistance programs for poor mothers in particular need to be completely reconceptualized and redesigned. Mrs. Norton, the Ford Carter administration jobs official, shout out to Eleanor Holmes Norton, and other black spokesmen, including officials of the Urban League, were endorsing a concept of incorporating job training into the welfare system so that women can graduate into self-supporting work. In addition, a few private institutions have started experimental programs working with teenage mothers, teenage fathers, and older women who head families. The Ford Foundation, for example, operates a trial program in Harlem in which women with babies are assigned older, more experienced women to teach them not only practical skills but also maturity and responsibility. Mrs. Edelman has begun calling on black community organizations, starting with churches, fraternal groups, and women's professional groups, to provide support, guidance, and counseling and role models to poor black families. Such efforts would be particularly directed at teenagers, similar to the Big Brother and Sister programs. The need for opportunity. But Ms. Edelman said there would never be a solution to problems like teenage pregnancy until black youngsters, male and female, were able to see brighter futures in the form of demonstrable economic opportunity for black people. Opportunity means hope. The bottom line is too few black parents have been able to show children if you are upright, you will do well in the society. Franklin Thomas, president of the Ford Foundation, said, "For years you might have thought there was a taboo in even discussing the problem, but it's clearly gone. It's a recognition of how serious the problem is." That, my folks, is a long-winded reading of this article. But this was actually sent to me by Art Vidmore. All this stuff is confirms exactly what was the problem back in 1965. It never got solved. In fact, we're still talking about that problem. This is 40 years ago. It's almost 40 years ago. We're still talking about the same problem. We're still arguing about the same things that we argued about back in 1965. It never got fixed. It may never be able to be fixed. So saying that the Moynihan report is debunked, it's only been highlighted and amplified by multiple scholars over multiple years. There's one article, how many people did we name, saying the exact same thing that Moynihan said back in 1965? Come on, folks. Stop the cap. Anyway, with that, I'm going to bounce off of here. This is BGS out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yep, and shout out to the elder, GG, big brother BGS. Shout out to him for that one, for producing that article. Basically, highlighting the Moynihan report, or the Moynihan report said, because as he said, that the article is 20 years after the Moynihan report, which we will be getting into. Hosted by Elder BGS. This is, wow, a long time ago when he produced this. So shout out to the elder, shout out to him, and go over there and subscribe if you haven't already at BGS IBMOR. All right, so yeah, here we go, and appreciate you, elder. Thank you.
Urbanization poured into the cities. Don't forget, the Negroes of our time, because they're Americans, we don't see them as immigrants. The Negroes in Watts were immigrants, just as much as the Italians or Irish or whatever who poured into the cities in the 19th century. And it wasn't a very pretty sight in New York in 1870 either, let me tell you. The families break up when they leave countrysides, rural peasant life, and sort of dump into slums. Fourthly, unemployment. We have had 35 years of disastrous unemployment, and for the Negro male. He has never gotten over the Depression. He had 4 fair to middling years in the Second World War, and maybe a good year in the Korean War, and that's it. It's getting better just recently. But by and large, it's been going on beyond the imagining in the white world. I mean, rates of unemployment, teenage unemployment in the white world and the Negro world today is almost 25%. Can you imagine that? That is a social crime. That's an outrage. There isn't a society in the world which will let 25% of teenagers go unemployed. About a quarter of Negro families are headed by women. The divorce rate is 2.5 times what it is. And all the number of fatherless children keeps growing. And all these things getting worse, not better, over recent years. It's not a matter of a bad situation that doesn't improve, but rather a bad situation that worsens. Got to get that clear. It's getting worse. How'd you learn how to behave? From your father and your mother and your older sisters, maybe, and the people around you. Well, supposing there is no father, or if he is a father, he doesn't work, where there is no education, where there's no sense of getting ahead, where children are just brought up without any of that support which a family gives it, then what do you end up with? You end up a cycle reproducing itself.
The clip that you just saw was from an interview that Daniel Patrick Moynihan did in 1965, talking about the Watts riots and the black family. I thought it was an appropriate intro into our investigation of the Moynihan report. The Moynihan report was written in 1965. It was supposed to be an internal document, not to be seen by the public. It was Moynihan's call to action in response to the civil rights movement going on in the 60s. After the Watts riots, the report got leaked, and the civil rights movement leaders reacted badly to it. So for 50 years, the Moynihan report has been misunderstood, misjudged, and only really discussed in the highest of academic circles. After reading the Moynihan report myself, I found it to be highly accurate and almost prophetic. Everything in the Moynihan report still exists today. Moynihan's only error was he didn't think it was going to get bad enough. So here, 50 years later, what we will attempt to do is look into the Moynihan report and put on our analyst hat
and see what we can glean from it and other material so we can have a deeper insight into the black community and its problems. So with no further ado, I introduce you to the Moynihan Report, the Negro Family, and a Plan for Action. The Negro Family, the Case for National Action. 200 years ago, in 1765, 9 assembled colonies first joined together to demand freedom from arbitrary power. For the first century, we struggled to hold together the first continental union of democracy in the history of man. 100 years ago, in 1865, following a terrible test of blood and fire, the Compact of Union was finally sealed. For a second century, we labored to establish a unity of purpose and interest among the many groups which make up the American community. That struggle has often brought pain and violence. It is not yet over. State of the Union message of President Lyndon B. Johnson, January 4th, 1965. The United States is approaching a new crisis in race relations. In the decade that began with the school desegregation decision of the Supreme Court and ended with the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the demand of the Negro Americans for full recognition of their civil rights was finally met. The effort, no matter how savage and brutal, of some state and local governments to thwart the exercise of those rights is doomed. The nation will not put up with it, least of all the Negroes. The present moment will pass. In the meantime, a new period is beginning. In this new period, the expectations of the Negro Americans will go beyond civil rights. Being Americans, they will now expect that in the near future, equal opportunities for them as a group will produce roughly equal results as compared with other groups. This is not going to happen, nor will it happen for generations to come unless a new and special effort is made. There are 2 reasons. First, the racist virus in the American bloodstream still afflicts us. Negroes will encounter serious personal prejudice for at least another generation. Second, 3 centuries of sometimes unimaginable mistreatment have taken their toll on the Negro people. The harsh fact is that as a group, at the present time, in terms of ability to win out in the competitions of American life, they are not equal to most of these groups, they will be competing. Individually, Negro Americans reach the highest peaks of achievement, but collectively, in the spectrum of American ethnic and religious and regional groups, where some get plenty and some get none, where some send 80% of their children to college and others pull them out of school at the 8th grade, Negroes are among the weakest. The most difficult fact for white Americans to understand is that in these terms, the circumstances of the Negro American community in recent years has probably been getting worse, not better. Indices of dollars of income, standards of living, and years of education deceive. The gap between the Negro and most other groups in American society is widening. The fundamental problem in which this is most clearly the case is that of family structure. The evidence, not final but powerfully persuasive, is that the Negro family in the urban ghettos is crumbling. A middle-class group has managed to save itself, but for vast numbers of unskilled, poorly educated city working class, the fabric of the conventional social relationships has all but disintegrated. There are indications that the situation may have been arrested in the past few years, but the general post-war trend is unmistakable. So long as this situation persists, the cycle of poverty and disadvantage will continue to repeat itself. The thesis of this paper is that these events, in combination, confront the nation with a new kind of problem. Measures that have worked in the past or would work for most groups in the present will not work here. A national effort is required that will give a unity of purpose to many activities of federal government in this area, directed to a new kind of national goal, the establishment of a stable Negro family structure. This would be a new departure for federal policy, and a difficult one, but it almost certainly offers the only possibility of resolving in our time what is, after all, the nation's oldest and most intransigent and now the most dangerous social problem. What Gunnar Myrdal said in An American Dilemma remains true today. America is free to choose whether the Negro shall remain her liability or become her opportunity. So at the end of this preamble, what does it say? Basically, they were saying that after 3 centuries of mistreatment by this system that had a part in developing the racist virus that exists in the United States, that if you want to bring the Negro American family into the white collective so that your country and your society can be stable and harmonious, he's basically saying that you're going to have to give black folks some help. The Negro family has had serious issues, as we will see in later chapters in the report. Moynihan clearly saw, as you could see in the first clip, that he saw the American Negro family, as it was known back then, no different than the white immigrants that came over from Europe. Same issues, same attempt to adjust to new environments, the same kind of problems in the family structure. The only difference is that the country and the society helped those immigrants and did things for those immigrants to help them overcome that hurdle. Whereas that same society did nothing for the black Americans that came out of slavery. In fact, they retarded the black family's cultural development. Moynihan was saying that because of the white racist virus that existed in the United States, it crippled the black cultural development of the black family and the black people. And to expect them compete against people that already had more than they had, already had a head start, had an advantage, and none of the disadvantages, not only would it be unfair, it would be insane. He was trying to say that if you're going to actually have these people compete and hopefully succeed in America, you're going to have to give them some help. You're going to have to undo the damage that you've done over 3 centuries. You're going to have to give them a leg up so they can actually catch up just to start even. And he believed you had to start with repairing the basic structure of human society, which is the family, which back then most black families were in shambles. After World War II, America wanted a stable society, domestic society, so that they could rule the world. They made peace with labor. They made peace with their women. They made peace with education. And the last step was making peace with the American Negro, trying to solve what Du Bois had called the problem of the color line. How do you assimilate a people that have been treated so foreign for so many years? How do you get white America to accept them? How do you get them to see themselves as Americans? You can't solve it until you know what's wrong. So this represented America's effort to pull the black family, the Negro family, into the American collective. The Moynihan report was the diagnoses. It was telling the leaders and the managers of the United States what was wrong with the black family. Why is it so important to us? It tells us how far we've come and how far we have to go. It's going to give us an underlying look at what our problem is, the unresolved issues that have been around and plaguing us for centuries. And maybe if we can get a look under the hood, a look at that diagnostic picture of the family and our relationships between each other, maybe, just maybe, we can do what Moynihan and Johnson couldn't, which is heal the black family. With that, I'm going to sign out, and I'll see you in part 2.
Yo, thank you, Elder BGS. Yeah, shout out to brother BGS, man. Yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Oh man, yeah, and yeah, the numbers basically increased of these the broken households here in this country because of white folks participating in systems that you know, or orchestrated or created systems that in which for black folks, as they have over the years, to engage in, thus increase the degeneracy and the dysfunctionality within these households to make it a thing of impossibility of any kind of family unification. So, and yeah, and it's just right, and I've seen cases of this as well as when it comes to with the term how can you pull your bootstraps? How can you pull yourself up by your bootstraps if your straps keep getting taken from you? And two, and it's like, how can you expect for black men to compete with, their counterparts, their white counterparts, and all that if you're only giving them scraps, if you're not giving them enough so they can meet at the same level or close to the same level financially. And the welfare system has little to do with the father. I mean, the welfare system has little to do with black men and their abilities. When it comes to work, that's not synonymous with each other. So that's separate. And yeah, and it became rougher for black men because of the jobs being taken from the black man and given to the white women. And now, as you see through the years, they've been given to white women and shared with black women, who in turn, in the 60s, basically said, F us, and what we should get that will help us and strengthen us in our core. So therefore, so we can have a stronger, solid foundation within the household because of us being able to produce at a decent rate. And and there's certain things that is not mentioned too when it comes to the workforce, such as like these things that I believe that attributes um, to the unemployment rate, and that is situations where you're dealing with shady people on the job, shady fellow black men who are who are ass lickers. They'll get in the way, who will scheme, try to find some scheming way to get you fired, and it's enough damn it that the women on these jobs, are able to do that to get you fired, deleted, jail, and there's nothing but misery. So yeah, but shout out to Elder BGS, and yeah, and I will be continuing throughout this year to share that. So, like I said, it will be periodic, but best believe I will have that done. And all right, and to uh, and to share a little bit more for Black History, I'm gonna share this.
People often ask me, did you invent the helicopter? That's a complicated question.
My name is Paul E. Williams, and the answer isn't a simple yes, but the work is no less significant. My life in aviation began not as a child dream, but in service. I was born in Birmingham, Alabama. I learned my trade with the U.S. Navy, where I worked as an aviation mechanic during World War II. That hands-on experience, understanding the machinery of flight, was my real education. My contribution came later, in the form of a patent. It wasn't for a whole new machine, but for a critical subsystem, a helicopter rotor system. My design focused on improving the rotor head with components like flapping hinges and drag hinges. These weren't just parts, they were solutions. They were meant to reduce vibration, absorb stresses, and give the pilot smoother, more reliable control. In short, to make helicopters more stable, efficient, and useful. This patented work was directly applied to an advanced experimental aircraft, Lockheed Model 186, designated the XH-51. It was a compound helicopter, part fixed-wing aircraft, designed to fly faster than any conventional rotorcraft of its time. My innovations in the rotor system were integral to that experimental program. Though only 3 of these remarkable machines were ever built, they pushed the boundaries of what vertical flight could be. For this work, I was deeply honored. The NAACP awarded me the prestigious Spingarn Medal, an award given for the highest achievement by a Black American. I also received honorary doctorate degrees in recognition of my contributions to aeronautical engineering. So, did I invent the helicopter? No. But did I invent key components that help make the modern practical helicopter possible? Absolutely. I didn't create the dream of flying straight up. I helped build the machine to do it safely and effectively. I am Paul E. Williams, and this is Black History X.
Yep. Shout out to Paul E. Williams, Black Excellence. Yes, so therefore, without Black folks, white people would be still struggling. They'll be struggling, man, in a whole bunch of areas, especially when it comes to flying. Yes, Paul E. Williams. Amen. Black first, Black excellence. So yeah. And in speaking of further Black excellence, I would like to share videos from excellent Black brother, our brother Xanatos Clutch. So yeah, so here we go. Shout out to him. Go over there, subscribe, like, check him out.
Show all viewers still here. Today we got a Passport Biff video. Passport Biff, who, before we incriminate him, here is what he's up for. He is being accused of going after Black Passport Bros. Black Passport Bros. And the reason why I say this is because he doesn't specify it, but from the clues that we got, we might be able to assume that he might be guilty of cock-blocking Black men from going to Asia or going to Europe even. Because in his video, he is asking the Passport Bros specifically on why aren't they going to Africa. Let's listen in.
Why is it the Passport Bros never go to Africa to pick up a girlfriend? I've been thinking about it. It doesn't really make sense because the conditions in countries like Nigeria, they're somewhat similar to like South America or Southeast Asia. And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense that Passport Bros haven't been, I'm going to use the word exploiting Africa as a source of stock. I just can't think of a reason for this. I mean, maybe it will start getting more popular as travel and tourism in Africa takes off even more, because I know it's somewhat popular now, but like in the future, maybe when the tourism industry in these countries is like absolutely throbbing, perhaps the passport bros will be going over there and we'll be seeing people with like, you know, Kenyan tings. I don't know, because at the moment there's a real lack of representation in the passport bro community going to countries in Africa and picking up those black baddies. Why do you think this is, guys? Just doesn't make sense. God bless, bye. Why is it the passport?
All right, so shout out to him. Now, on the surface, some people say this is a very innocuous video, a very innocent video where he's talking about passport pros of all races, and if that's the case, then yeah, he's not guilty. But I looked at some of his videos, and it actually, there is smoke, I'll just say that. But he does specify passport pros in a non-racial manner, and he does bring up some good points about Africa not having as much tourist infrastructure as some of the other more popular destinations like Latin America and Southeast Asia. He is right about that, and quite frankly, even with a face that only a grandmother could love, he would still clean up if he ever went to any said African country. But in the meantime, let's see. By the way, this guy, background story, he's currently in Thailand, and well, let's see what he's been up to in Thailand. We have various videos of his antics.
Not to get all soppy with you guys, but in 2021 I had a heart attack caused by the fact that I was a cocaine addict. I also worked in the music industry and had a very high stress job, but my life in the UK didn't work out so well. I ran businesses, I got myself into debt, I got into drug problems, and it spiraled. And in the end, I was really nothing. I always knew I had potential, I always knew I had something in me. I always knew that one day I'd be able to do something good. But the UK just didn't work out for me. There was, I guess, flaws in myself, and I just wasn't able to succeed there. But I was very fortunate to have grown up in Southeast Asia. I was raised in Singapore, and I lived in Thailand when I was a child as well. And so I always had in my brain an exit plan. I always knew that one day, if life didn't work out so well for me in the UK, I could always try Southeast Asia. I could always try Thailand. And 2 years ago I did. I gave it a go. I came out here by myself, and for the first year I bumbled around, making ends meet and scraping, trying to survive. And then I met Ellie, and we put our heads together, and we decided we were going to open a business. And that business led to this. This beautiful place that we have now, this beautiful thing that has allowed us to do so much, that has put us in such a beautiful position. Yeah, we've got a nice car, yeah, we've got boats, yeah, we've got a villa by the sea. And these are all things that young me dreamed of, that I could never have achieved in the UK. I had problems, and I overcame them, and today, this. I'm a proud young man, and my parents are proud. And deep within my heart, I know that I made the right choices, and today we have this. God bless to all of you who support us, and for those that don't, it's all right. We'll just keep winning. God bless. Not to get all soppy.
All right, so if this part gets copyright struck, I'll edit this part out because road monetization continues. But what he's saying, and the reason why I might pause this and edit this part out, is because you got some copyright music there. He basically he came from a hard scenario where he really effed up his life and decided to restart his life in Southeast Asia, specifically Taiwan. He lingered around for a year. He did the passport BIF stuff and just partied it up and broed it up for a year. But the second year, he found someone to partner up and do a business with, which you can see behind is apparently his bar. So he explains how he effed up and came to Thailand, lingered around, and then turned his life around. But has he really turned his life around? Or is his habits are just dying hard?
So, we're on our plane in our booked seat.
By the way, these are all in chronological order, so that first story is from earlier or before this.
When a customer swore at me, and I asked the airline staff what to do. We were then asked to leave the plane, so I'm stood here now, asking the ground control staff, of course, what to do. I'd like to know what to do. I've paid for my flight, I've paid for my seat, and I would like to know where to go now, other than just standing here in your ground control zone. So please identify where I'm supposed to go. I would feel a bit uncomfortable. So my passport, Ellie's passport, very concerned about what is occurring with our passports in the terminal at DMK Airport. A little bit worried, to be honest with you. Sat on the flight on the way to go home.
By the way, did you see, I won't call her a baddie, but she's close, that chick that was with her. That's White Advantage 101.
Thank you so much, madam. Now, where do we go now? Very curious about what's going on with the flight that we were supposed to be on. Thank you. Shall we stay here? Sawadee krap.
Sawadee krap. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Enforcement officer, my name is Tom.
Okay, Tom.
What is your name?
I'm Sukon.
Sukon. Sukon.
Yeah, she's a baddie.
What's going on? What's going on? Yeah. I would like to ask you, I'm filming if that's okay, just for my lawyer. Yeah, no problem with you, just so I know to give video to someone else. So, what's going on?
I have to argue, I just don't know.
We were on the plane, a lady swore at me, I have video evidence of this, I've already uploaded it to the internet, a lady swearing at me, I asked the lady why she sworn at me, she kicks us off the flight. I have this on video, it's already on TikTok.
Oh, never mind, she's not with him. Apparently, she swung at him and both of them got kicked off the flight. She's probably British too, so that British Klingon love is almost as bad as that Ado Scruggle and Grits Klingon love. From my observation, it's almost as bad.
Would like to know what we happen with us now, where we go?
We have to follow our staff.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
She's still a baddie. Barely.
Yes, and I have video every moment from when we get on the plane to when we get off. That's not true. When we start taxiing, I can't use the phone. When I'm at standstill, I can use the phone until we taxi and the seatbelt sign is off.
When the staff, the crew, want you like about this, you have
Sir, I have no problem with you. I have no problem with you.
I know. I just
at
explain
all.
you. We have
So,
a policy like this.
with respect, please tell me what's going on with us, because we were supposed to be on an aeroplane going home. Just tell me what you'd like with us, the only way you'd like us to go, and I'll do it.
You have to go with us.
Of course, I'll follow you. Thank you. So we've now got officer in a beret, officer in a hard hat, airport patrol. Let's go. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men in the airport because someone told us to fuck off on the plane. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 men with us taking us out of the airplane because someone swore at us. I'll put this up now. Let's go.
All right, so, well, I'm not sure if that chick was the chick that they swung at or if she swung. I don't know. Anyway, he didn't explain it as well, but from my understanding, those two were fighting, or at the very least, those two fought someone else. Anyway, you're seeing the behavior pattern nonetheless. Let's continue.
Court today, and I was sentenced to 2 months suspended sentence, and that's a prison sentence. How mad's that? Pretty wild. I went to the Thai court, and yes, I had already pled guilty, so it was a pretty quick thing. Basically, what I'd done is in December, I'd punched through a bamboo fence. So I got done with the charge of mischief, and so just to save time and energy, because there was a CCTV video of me punching through this bamboo fence, I pled guilty, and I got a small fine of 7,000 baht, and then also a 2-month suspended prison sentence, which is pretty heavy. And a lot of people have put comments going, I would be out of Thailand on the first flight if that was me. But to be honest with you, I like it here. I've got a business here. I did do a stupid thing. I punched through a bamboo fence, and that is a crime almost anywhere in the world. Here in Thailand, I got done for it under mischief, and so that is my punishment for that. So yeah, and now I guess we just move onwards and upwards, focus on the shop, but pretty heavy that there is a 2-month suspended prison sentence. But hey, that's my punishment. God bless. Court today, and I was sentenced.
All right, you're seeing the pattern here. You're seeing the pattern. Let's continue. Let's continue.
So today I was supposed to be at court in Thailand, but as you can see, I'm not in Thailand and I'm not at court. I'm in Singapore on important business, doing important things, making money. And so unfortunately, I was unable to make the court date, and so I sent my lawyer and asked for it to be extended. Basically, that court date is now 2 months in the future, brilliant, which is, a shame for the person who is trying to put me in jail, because every fucking time it's court, I get videos on my FYP of this gormless prick going, Tom Birch is going to jail, Tom Birch is going to jail. Well, fucker, I seem to be in Singapore and not in jail. Dosser. Anyway, no, I'm in a very good mood about this. Obviously, thanks to my lawyer for being a top G, thanks to Singapore for being such an amazing city. God bless, guys. Oh yeah, Tom Birch is going to jail, is he? Oh yeah, oh. God bless. Singapore, 10 out of 10. Bye. So.
All right, and then the last video we got. So this video, the reason why I'm putting this video in, and this is not because of any political leanings I have whatsoever, especially since when we were talking about the British right, the far right even, a lot of their angst is not towards people who look like me, particularly black, raised Christian, speak English. I mean, they treat us, I'll be honest, the British right treats Africans and blacks, especially biracial blacks, similar to how the American right treats Asians and Hispanics. I mean, you look at Nick Fuentes, for an example, and outside of very few people who are like, they're mostly cool. They're mostly like, all right, whatever. Yeah, so with that being said, is this an indication of him wanting to keep out black passport bros? Let's see what his political leanings are.
So if 3 hours into the dangerous far-right protest that the media says it will be full of fascists and Nazis, and I must be at the wrong protest, because at the moment I'm surrounded by families and people who are all having a wonderful day, enjoying themselves, even though, despite the weather, God bless, God bless. And this really is just such a show how the zeitgeist is changing and how the people in charge really have no idea what the sentiment is on the ground. There must be 1 million people here. There must be, despite the fact that it is lashing down with rain. There are people out and about showing their support for what they believe in. And what they believe in is not very difficult. It's that we want Great Britain to be the country that we remember. And like, I'm 26 years old, man. I didn't grow up in the glory days where we were all tootling around in our little hamlets and villages. But what I can tell you is things aren't going how we want it to. And that's why all these people are out here on the streets today, all with the same belief that if only the people in charge would fucking listen and just hear what is actually wanted. Look at that. Perfect. A magical day, magical energy as we're approaching Westminster. What an experience. What a moment. God bless.
All right, that's actually not a bad way to end your video. British flag in your face. That's commercial marketing right there. Anyway, aside that. So we know his political leanings are towards the right. I won't say far right, but definitely towards the right. And we all know how a lot of men on the right, and even on the left, but a lot of white men on the right, particularly Americans, I'm using this as an example, a lot of them cannot stand brothers going overseas, especially if it's outside of Africa. My time in Japan was full with passport bros. And by the way, before I go into my rant, his business, Knockout Labs, is located in what looks to be Krabi, Thailand. So I thought it was going to be located in where every other passport bro goes who is basically skillless, aka Pattaya, and pays for it. But yeah, nonetheless, or is looking for cheap rent, Pattaya. Anyway, but no, he's in Krabi, so apparently he, at least if nothing else, he picked an original spot. So there's him. But if we are to believe that he has the same sentiment as American white men who are of the right and tend to go far east, they do not want black men competing. Or they just don't want black men to enjoy themselves, particularly in the place they see it is more civilized and safe, aka Asia. And when it comes to a lot of these immigration talks, when it comes to Japan, especially with the new prime minister, with Korea, and even with China, there is always an alt-righters who will always say something about blacks. And don't think we have not seen the video of, was it Young James, basically pandering to the far right by just, trying to get attention enough to get hit by some African in Capuchico. I've seen that, even though Capuchico is not safe and a lot of the Africans there aren't worth crap. People like Young James, I don't even say him. The evidence is there. I wouldn't be surprised if he was calling out black men specifically when it comes to gatekeeping. But people like Young James were the people who I faced on in America and in Japan specifically. And Young James, by the way, I made a reaction video about that. But if you want to watch this video, particularly watch his response, the response that he had, it looked like a Stormfront rally. It looked like a Turning Point USA rally, or it looked like an ex-comment section where a lot of them basically crapped on all blacks, use it as an excuse just to spew their racism and their hate. And let's be honest, a lot of those kind of boys are the boys that I had to face up when I was in Japan, particularly Eastern Japan, and even Western Japan. But I will say this about Western Japan. Western Japan, I had one asshole who came at me when I was talking to his girl, and not even in a sexual way, because I knew they were together. He took a piss. I was just having bar talk with the female. It was like, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm half Japanese, half Filipino, blah blah blah." Talking about my experience and relating to me being, well, outside of America, mixed, because the one drop rule does not exist outside of America. This asshole comes and basically tries to be smart and thinking I'm being a smart ass, and well, What about your experiences here? You half black, which, by the way, the only thing that asshole got was right. So shout out to him. Apparently, he is a triple-digit IQ bro, a Biff. But his girl even corrected him and saying, no, it wasn't even like that. He was genuinely asking about my experience, because mixed race people in Japan have different experiences than monoracial people in Japan. That's just a fact. But no, shout out to him. Shout out to Western Japan, because Eastern Japan, I don't think I would have had that much offense. Maybe the women there are probably more compliant towards Biffs, passport Biffs, who are against the black men. Let's just be honest. That was my experience in Japan, and guys like him sort of rubbed me in that similar fashion. So I'll let you all be the judge of this, but I can tell you this. Passport Biffs are India problem. Maybe not him personally. We can't say if he's guilty or not. I mean, he's flirting with the right wing. I can say this. Freaking Young James, yeah, he's a problem, because he came out as a Charlie Kirk fanboy. He was pom-pom for Charlie Kirk, particularly when he died. And he was like, basically, he took a slam at Africans too, or African countries, by the way. Yeah, I caught all that. So, but he's British, so I'm going to give him to be determined. We need more evidence to say that he is trying to gatekeep Asia for white men and against black men. But he's not off the hook completely, because we have seen his antics where he gets arrested and apparently he misses court. He gets sent to prison for 2 months, gets kicked off the plane, etc. at all. And let's be honest, a lot of these passport biffs go off way more when it comes to just their demeanor and their posture and just the way they carry themselves throughout these countries, Southeast Asia. Because let's be honest, how should I say this? You can take the Brit out of Britain, but you can't take, well, no, that's not all British people, but you can take the wanker out of Britain, but you can't take the you can't take the wanker out of the wanker. Let's just say this. Once a wanker will always be a wanker, and those are some wanker activities that he displayed, or that he is displaying throughout his time in Thailand. Tell me your experiences on passport biffs, because I can't even call him Brad. I mean, like, physically, I don't judge dude's looks, but let's be honest, this is more of a biff, a biff who is a hooligan. I mean, yeah, if we're to make him guilty of one thing, he's definitely a hooligan. Of which team, I'm not sure, but he definitely has that hooliganism in him. But yeah, nonetheless, tell me, any man, any race, tell me about the hooligans you ran into in your time overseas, and if they were trying to cock block you, especially if you're a man of color, if they were trying to cock block you from local women or just women outside of your culture. Anyway, this is an open-ended case. I'm going to let the audience be the judge of this, and everyone else out there, always bet on X.
Yo, hey man, shout out to brother Xanatos Clutch, man. Yeah, shout out to him. Go and subscribe to that brother, man. Yeah, shout out to you, bro, man, and thanks for sharing, brother. Yeah, on that tip, I would say, yeah, white man, y'all just need to shut the fuck up, like real talk, because y'all been traveling like ever since the beginning, and in all of y'all travels, you can't say white man has been the best thing, for women overseas, because yeah, y'all done some heinous, debaucherous, wild shit. Whereas when we are trying to travel and go overseas, yeah, I mean, hey, that pay to play may be in action or whatever, but we're not going overseas doing all kind of crazy and wild shit. And for what it seems, those who do go over there overseas and doing some kind of like wild shit or whatever, like your J Rellos and them, it's questioned to where if they are actually FBA, and I'm questioning that my damn self. And so and I have seen a few videos or whatever, a white man hating on black man. Basically, like y'all trying to keep us like so oppressed and compressed into like this corner of like of no way out kind of situation. It's like you're it's like you guys are right along with these damn strag demons, with these chaos goblins of all nationalities here in the States who are against passport bros and trying to keep us, you know, from being able to obtain that peace, trying to shatter the hopes and aspirations of man who desires to travel. So I would say, yeah, brother Clutch, he may not be, you know, all the way guilty of that or whatever, but I'm kind of getting the term biffs now. Passport biffs. Um, passport biffs. BIFF. Oh, shit. And yeah. And I'll just say, you know, that he just need to just shut the hell up. He should be saying nothing. You know, for when white men can get women from dinner any country. Damn it. And so therefore, why the hell are you guys saying anything to begin with on what black men do? So what I'm seeing is like this is another attempt of white man trying to find a way to oppress black man, to keep black men from obtaining any kind of form of happiness and peace. They just need to shut all the way up. So yeah. So yeah, shout out to Brother Xanatos Clutch on that one. And yeah, and I got some funny videos to show you guys. And yeah, one of them is this, and I'm like, shoot, hey, I know what people say about big girls and all that whatnot, man, but this one I'll take down. Best believe that I'll take down. And I bet you that she can beat a bunch of bitches' asses. I believe that there. I bet you that there. So yeah, let me show you guys this right here. Hold on, let me get it. Yeah, check this out. Girl will get a boy, you hear me? I bet you that's a big girl that is flexible, damn it. Shoot. Hell, yeah, I am playing that again, you hear me? Damn right. Boy, you see those moves, she ain't playing no games. She ain't playing no games. And I gotta agree with this brother. On the fact being, yes, this is what we man asked for. Here we go.
All I want is this. All I want is this. And I don't think it's a lot to ask. I think that if you love me, you will get me. I think that if you love me, you will get All I want is this. All I want is this. And I don't think it's a lot to ask. I think that if you love me, you will get me something like it.
Oh, wait. Well, with those tattoos, I'm like, man, damn it. Yeah. Yes, high possibility. She might be a wildling. But yeah, that's about right. He's right. So yeah, so check these funny videos out. These are videos from IG that I downloaded. So yeah, check this out, man. This is hilarious.
接下来我就不客气了。接下来我就不客气。你能怎么不客气？你能怎么不客气？
Oh shit. Oh damn it. Oh, that was hilarious.
接下来我就不客气了。哼，你能怎么不客气？客气。
Oh shoot. Oh, that one was just hilarious. I thought that one was hilarious. Oh man.
接下来我就不客气了。哼，你能怎么不客气？
Oh, oh man. This one was definitely hilarious right here.
Agora, demônio vermelho! Não tem voto que te esconda da justiça de Deus! Espírito de mentira, solta essa filha! Receba a libertação com poder! O nome do Senhor seja livre! Toda opressão cai agora! Receba...
Yeah, shit. Boy, man, church pastor hit one of my motherfucking female people like that, man. What? Man, boy, I go up there and I brawl with them motherfucker. I go up there and knock past their ass out. What? Man, put your hand on my motherfucking old lady. Put your hand on my sister. Put your hand on her. Man, they had to drag me up out that motherfucker. Yeah.
That was hilarious. Oh boy. That motherfucker was oh boy. Well, he slapped the devil out of them. He slapped the devil out of them motherfuckers, boy. Hey. Oh shit. Oh, he gave him the hand of the Holy Spirit. Oh boy. So they all cheat on their husbands. And damn it, they had to go through this boy for the process of reconciliation. They had to get the slap from the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Oh, oh, that was hilarious. Yeah. Oh man, that was hilarious. So, oh man. Let's see. Oh, one more time.
Agora, demônio vermelho! Não tem voto que te esconda da justiça de Deus! Espírito de mentira, solta essa filha! Receba a libertação com poder! O nome do Senhor seja livre! Toda opressão cai agora! Receba...
Yeah, shit. Hit my boy, man, church pastor hit one of my motherfucking female people like that, man. What? Man, boy, I go up there and I brawl with them motherfucker. I go up there and knock past their ass out. What? Man, put your hand on my motherfucker. Put your hand on my sister. Put your hand on my sister. Put your hand on her. Man, they had to drag me up out that motherfucker.
Oh. Oh shoot, boy. Yeah. Yeah, and I say this for the end just in case, if I have to possibly edit it, take it off from YouTube. So yeah, but it's gonna be up on the Rumble. But yeah, I'm gonna share this. But yeah, thank you guys for coming through. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. Hit the follow, hype the stream, and hit the follow over here on the Rumble side. Share, and like, and also bless the Hama Force if you want to with a donation through the Cash App, which should be there in the description. All right, and we will be returning back with the new arc / series of Baki the Grappler. Yes, of this one being uh, focusing on Musashi Miyamoto. So yes, that is a definite as that just came out. So give me some time downloading that. I'm gonna download those episodes so I get them uploaded for us. So yeah, and I will be. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do like some kind of a duo with it. I'm going to introduce that to you guys on my next stream when I cover, um, which shall be as promised. And sticking to what I say I was going to do. So yeah, so brothers trying to be loyal to you on that one. I will be covering uh, Fallout, the second season of Fallout. So it's not that complex to go over, at all. So as that finished being aired was probably like a couple of months ago or so. Yeah. To give my take for that. So, and I'm going to use that stream to bring you guys over onto the, over here on Rumble so we can watch the Baki. Yes. And we will be getting back to, after that, we will be getting back to our Kingdom series. Oh man, there's so much other stuff, y'all, I got to share with y'all. Man, I'm watching so many shows at once. I'm watching Monarch. I know like the second season is out right now. It's the current. So yeah, I'm basically following. I'm playing catch up. So yeah, I'm in the first season, and I've seen the confusion that people have with it, with them going with movies and shows. They do that, and I believe Hollywood. I wager Hollywood does that more than anyone in which they go back and forth into the past and the present. And so, yeah, but after a while, I basically got it. I understood it. But yeah, so because yeah, I am a fan of Godzilla and King Kong. Yes, and that and some other animes too. Man, I came across it is hilarious, son. Hilarious. Oh man. Oh. Yeah. Oh, shit, just thinking about it, oh man. Oh yes, and then I'm watching another anime too, which I do a thing. I have a system where I like, okay, watch 3 or 4, and then I split, and I get at a memorable point, and then I go to the next show after those 4 episodes, and then I'll return sometime later the next following day. And so one of the animes I'm watching now is Hell's Paradise. I'm like, this is very peculiar, unique situation, scenario. Okay, unique plot. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. And I'm watching a Trinity anime called Trinity 7. And I'm trying to work my way around to watching the shows that I've been wanting to get around to, which is like the Jack Reacher and the show and the movie. And like I said, we're gonna breeze through this, watch through this arc, this Baki the Grappler arc, this Musashi, and which I'm, already hip to where I know the whole thing of how it's gonna go down. So yeah, um, which I won't talk about until after I share with you guys and give my thoughts. Man, and there's I'm watching, a couple of sci-fi shows too. Which I'm deciding which ones, I'm just going to keep for me, and those I'm willing to share. But for the most part, most of what I watch, I'm going to be covering it with you guys. So yeah, man, it's a great time. Oh yeah, and also too, get my take of a night of the 7 or 9 kingdoms as Aegon, little dude, the little prince, as he basically told Dunk, the main character, that there was 9 kingdoms for when he thought it was 7. Yeah, and this is before House of the Dragons, comes out. There was rumors about House of the Dragons being released sooner than what fans think, but I'm gonna dive into that to see when they're exactly coming out. I somewhat know what's going to happen within the story of that, according to some videos that reflected upon some passages of the book, which basically technically spoiled it for me. So yeah, but it'll still be better and more enjoyable to be able to watch it play out. So, but yeah, here's our outro. And like I said, if you want to bless the Alma for us, hit the Cash App. But also, even you just as important, please hit the like, share, and subscribe for your brother. All right. And so here I get our outro ready. I want to say, I'm not your fan, I'm not your stan, for I am brother. 1 verse a million. This is the Alma Force. I'm out. Peace.
Get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it, let's get it. We want to dedicate this song to all them goofy ass men and women out there with no fucking morals. They fucking the game up. By a round of applause, how many people know what I'm talking about out there? Yes, sir. Hey, all of my circle is hood educated. Loyalty over money is how you elevate it. Get your boys build an empire and delegate it. They don't want to give it to you, then you take it. Yo, 24/7s I work, I take a little rest. You going hard in the paint, I go to full press. Bank account a little low, my hustle doubled up. 45 around the waist, I need a tummy tuck. And that's for niggas think I'm playing with they goofy ass. Niggas saying suck my dick, they don't get a pass. I got kids, bro, and I'm their role model. And they'll plead with you, please don't bring a nigga out of.
My women hood educated, we hustle, we motivated. Every move that we're making is perfectly calculated. So if it ain't adding up, then it's getting eradicated. Like saying to sacrifice integrity so you make it. What they say subtracted, I did the math and I'm ready. There's a million ways to the bag as if I own hefty. And after all, what they tell you is trash. I think it's time for disposal. You ain't really got a pocket for cash. You got the drive and ambition and go grab it. Just stay out of the lane that has hell of a lot of traffic. And never doubt another route because it ain't fast. It just may be the road that'll keep you all safe from a crash. They some goofy motherfuckers.
Niggas act, but when it's on, they don't want it.
They some goofy motherfuckers.
You can laugh, but I'm being for real, motherfucker.